All right, hello. Welcome to another episode of Airspeed Sessions, where we delve into the lives of everyday gigging musicians. I'm Rusty Schaefer, your host, and this podcast is sponsored by Airspeed Audio. Our goal here is to give you some insight as to what motivates these musicians to keep playing and let you in on their journey and their music. You just heard a little clip from Jared Summers. The song is Cherry Red Lipstick. It's out on YouTube. And we welcome to the podcast guitar player, lead singer of the band Maybe You're Right, Jared Summers. Welcome, Jared.
Woo! I'm excited to be here. Fine.
Good. So, okay, so let's get a few things out of the way. You're in Las Vegas area, right?
Yeah.
The band is Maybe You're Right. How long has the band been around?
Um, I think originally it's been since like 2021. It had different members, but since last year, August, we've like solidified who we are, what roles we each have, who's in the band, and it's been just uphill since then.
Perfect. And so you're gigging in the Las Vegas area, right? And
Yeah.
you're recording an EP for release later this year.
Yep. The EP title where our title for it is called When the Party's Over.
When the party's over. Okay, cool. All right, excellent. And so we'll put all that up on the screen near the end of the podcast. I want to go back. I want to know when you started learning to play guitar, what inspired that?
Uh, I think in terms of guitar, I started in 2019, like December, right before pandemic, and it was just like a college class. I was told to take an elective because I was going for physics, and I didn't want to take theater. I took it in high school, and I was like, that's not for me. So I was like, guitar though, I that seems more interesting, and I've always been drawn to like music, especially because music on my dad's side of the family, like their music was like my grandpa plays guitar. Pretty sure he plays piano. My dad and aunt are DJs. My aunt's also a drummer. So I think from like even a very young age, I was already like music oriented, but I didn't really like go into it until college.
So you pick up the guitar. Did you buy a guitar for this class? Is that what you
I
did?
did. I had to. They were like, I had no guitar because I thought it was gonna be like they were gonna hand one for like the students, and they were like, "All right, raise your hand if you have a guitar." And there was like maybe one or two people who brought it to class, and there was like, "Okay, everyone else, what did you think was gonna happen here? Guitar class with no guitar."
Right.
So
Okay,
I
so
just
do you remember what that guitar was? Do you remember what that
yeah
first
yeah, it's in my room right now. It's a Yamaha, just a standard cheap Yamaha $200 acoustic guitar.
six string acoustic?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you put your hands on this guitar. When did you all of a sudden go, "Oh my God, this is for me"?
I think during quarantine, just because again, like no one was doing anything, and I only went to like 8 classes because I didn't want to do online class. But I was like, I remember some of like the very basics, fundamentals that they were teaching me. I knew my open chords, I knew some little music theory, and then I was just learning songs that I liked that I wanted to learn online, like like guitar tab type of stuff. And once I was learning that, I was like, oh snap, this is what I want to do. Like this is
This is
crazy.
yeah. So you got hit with the bug.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, this is fun.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Okay, so that was 2019, right? That was pandemic. So you're playing guitar like the rest of us, not much to do but stay inside and
Yeah.
whatever, right? It's a great time to learn. Great time to learn.
Yeah,
Um,
self-taught from there only basically.
Not just self-taught like YouTube, like
Not even YouTube, because we all know there's no lessons on YouTube. Like you can learn
right,
it, but no, just literally like subtitles. Like again, I knew my open chord, so I was like learning songs that I liked, and I was kind of picking up, okay, this is how they're writing songs. Here's like their chord progressions, here's their melody lines, their lyrics, all that kind of stuff. So I kind of like pieced it together. I was like, okay, well, if I'm writing my own song, like it should kind of run this way.
right. It sounds very similar to my journey. Yeah, it sounds like I was more when I started learning, it was like, look, I don't want to go, I don't want to go run a scale, right? That was boring to me. I want to play a song. I want to know that like I can get somewhere, you know,
Yeah.
I can do something. Well, that's okay. So that's cool. So,
I know A scale. I can play A scale.
okay, that's all
I
right.
can probably learn other ones too, but
That's
you know.
okay. So when did you get an electric? When was the electric?
I think I want to say 2022, and I think that's when I think I have it right here. I think that's when Machine Gun Kelly's album right here, Tickets to My Downfall, came out, and like the reemergence of like pop punk into mainstream type of thing. And I was like, okay, well, I'm tired of playing acoustic. I want to like up it up a little bit for like shows or writing songs, recording, and all that.
Right.
So like he really like kind of pushed more of the electric side to
So
it.
that opened up like a whole new world, right? It just expanded that world for you, I'm imagining.
Yeah, and like I already knew I wanted to get one because I was kind of tired of acoustic. Like I want to, because I know with like electric you can put so many more effects on it.
Right. It's very interesting. I checked out your Instagram and a lot of your stuff, and it's really interesting that you on 1 minute you're jamming hard rock, kind of like the tune we just heard, and the next
Mhm.
minute you're out there playing really, I think, kind of soulful pop stuff acoustically.
Yeah,
It's like a dichotomy. It's like those are like 180 degrees from each other.
yeah, and like what think is like a good thing too is like our first show as like this new lineup of who's in the band. We had our first show, and obviously like first show is like a band with like any band, like you have that initial draw just because it's your first show and there's people coming to see what you put on. And we switched from like our whatever punk music that we're playing electrically into the acoustic side and started playing it, and maybe like halfway into song all by themselves, like people in the crowd were just like clapping their hands to the beat, stuff like that, like like waving their camera flashes around. No, we didn't like engage with the audience to do that. They all did it by themselves, and I was like, oh, that this is like a moment for sure.
So is that sort of going forward? And again, you can tell me, is the band focused on more the driving rock stuff, or will there be acoustic stuff in there? How's that work with the band?
So I think as the band, we know what we want when writing our songs, and we know we don't want to be into like one thing specifically. So I think in terms of our EP, we have like the not generic, but like, we have the main list of songs that are like in your face, pop punk, emo type of thing, but we also have like one acoustic on it, the one out of the four songs that is just acoustic. And it kind of just I feel at least when writing like an album, it's important to have like moments throughout it that's like, okay, here's like the high energy. Now we're gonna like slow it down to like get you in your feelings, and then okay, we'll start to like pick it back up to where we were to like end off strong.
You're an old soul, Jared, because that's the way it used to be. I'm dating myself, but when I was a kid and you bought an album, right? Even album on cassette, you listened, to the whole thing front and back. And that's what bands did. It was incredibly important to pick what songs in what order, what was the first song, where do we put the hit or whatever. And they did exactly what you're talking about. So I mean, from my standpoint, I think that's incredible that you're thinking like that. In
Thank
this day and age of iTunes and YouTube where we listen to one song, the journey is really cool. And I'm noticing that a lot of bands these days and a lot of people your age are kind of coming back around a bit old school to say,
you.
we don't want our audience listening to one song, even at home. We want them listening to the whole side of an album or the whole album.
Yeah.
And if you're going to do that, right, you got to make sense of the order.
I think that recently too, like how you're saying, like people are just listening to the singles, to the hits, and like there's merits to it for sure. It's sometimes better to just have singles after singles after singles, but with like the album, if you're writing an album, it's important, like you said, to have that progression of this is like a story, especially if you're writing like a concept type of album, even more important to know your placements for where songs are going to be.
Right. I'm excited because I don't see a lot of bands with your depth of kind of where you want to go. Like 2 or 3 albums from now, you guys will strike a great balance between slower song, acoustic song, driving song. I mean, you have to refine your craft, right? Like you said,
Yeah.
the band is sort of now gelling. And I wanted to ask, are you the primary songwriter in the band? How's that work?
Yes and no. Yes, in terms of I'm the primary, like we just got off like another interview that we just did for like this local magazine, Lights Off Media. And they kind of asked the same thing, like how does the writing process go? And essentially I write out like the whole demo. I'll write the guitars, like all the guitars, the bass, the drums, the lyrics, and like I'll make like a quick demo on GarageBand. And then I'll show it to my band. I was like, hey, here's like the idea for the song. And from there we kind of just learn it. But as we're learning it, we're like, okay, well, they'll throw in their own ideas. Like, what if I do this like bass riff on like the second verse or on the chorus or whatever it may be? Guitarist will not play what I wrote. But it's, I don't want to like infringe on his creativity as well because he's his own person. He's part of the band. So, and more times than not, he's writing something better than me. And I'm like, okay, as long and our drummer too is like when I'm like programming the drums in, I understand the standpoint of like when or musicians who don't play drums, they go to program them in, there's like, oh, it's unrealistic. I go in the mindset is like I want it to be realistic so that it's doable. And when he plays it, he's like, he keeps stuff that I do have written. He's like, oh, well, I liked how you did this, but he'll say, I'm gonna play like maybe something like this, or let's try out something like this. Like anyone in the band would be like, let's try this part out for this portion of the song. And from there, it's more not so more my song than more our song.
Introducing the Airspeed 2 by 12 PPD speaker cabinet. Designed and custom built in the USA with a focus on innovative design, expert craftsmanship, stunning elegance, and stellar audio quality. Our patent-pending performance projection design system lets you hear your speakers at their best. Angling the speaker baffle back 15 degrees, you now hear sound on axis instead of off axis. You can learn more about the product on our website at airspeedaudio.com.
Tell me about your gear. I mean, I'm assuming you've kind of purchased more gear
As a
since the
guitarist, yeah.
start. Yeah, tell me about like what's your main guitar you're playing, what your amp is, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so my first electric was, I believe, an Ibanez, and it was kind of like SG styled Ibanez, and I customized it. I spray painted it like red on like the outline of it, and then I brought it. I used to work with kids, and I brought it to work one day, and bad idea on my part because the knobs are now broken, the pickups are kind of messed up a little bit, and so I was like, okay, I need a new guitar. Don't want to fix it, just new guitar. And so then my second one was it says it's magenta, but it's clearly a pink guitar. It's a pink like Floyd Rose Jackson. And I didn't know so much maintenance just because it has like the lock-in stuff. But I mean, like if it works when it works, I need to get it tuned up as well. Just because it's not my primary guitar to use, just because my now new-ish, I've had it for like maybe a year or two, but it's my favorite so far and I play with it all the time. It's like a metallic blue PRS SE Mira, and I love it. I love it to death.
Nice. So
I
that's a
don't,
good progression. That's a good progression up, right?
yeah, learn how to take care of my stuff. And
Yeah.
that's in terms of like guitars, what I use. I have my acoustic Yamaha, but I want to get a better one just because I need to get a better one.
Right.
And not a guitarist getting another guitar. But
Well,
I do.
yeah. I mean, that's what we do, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's what we do, right? Because they evoke different emotions. At
Yeah, for
least for
sure.
me, they do.
Yeah, definitely. In terms of amps, I use I think I bought it for like maybe 250 because we're all like starving musicians here. I just use like a Fender like 50-watt amp, for shows and stuff. At one point, I still do have it. I just need to get it like repaired. But I have like a cab, the Egnator cab with like a Marshall head on top, and the speakers on the Egnator are just kind of like maybe blown out. It just doesn't work properly. Full volume, it's like it's playing at super low volume. So I still just stick with my Fender right now. I do want to get it fixed though. I think it'd be really sick. And then gear wise, I also have a keyboard that I use because I like again like how we're saying like songs having like a story through like an album stuff. Like I want to implement more instruments and type of stuff, not just guitar, bass, drums, just to give it like more dynamic throughout songs.
So it sounds like, are you writing? Are you like kind of constantly writing as well as figuring out the next gig and so forth?
Yeah, I'm the clearly me being on here. I'm like the front man of our band.
You're
I
the
do
you're the driver.
yeah. I
That's
I I do it all. Like they all help out in their own ways for sure.
right. Right. Very cool. Where are you guys gigging locally? Is
I think one of our most played not arena venue that we played is Eagle Larry Hall, and that's like kind of in Henderson by like Water Street.
okay.
We played there a couple times. I like the venue. I think it's pretty sick. We've played in the Arts District a couple times. We played at this venue restaurant called Soul Belly Barbecue and this other like skate shop called Freshest Skate Shop. And I love each of those places too. They each have their own like little area for bands to perform. Um, we've done some house shows. I like the house shows. I feel like they're honestly, I feel like the house shows are more intimate. I think we're just so close and with the crowd and all that stuff. Where else? Off the top of my head, I can't think of anything else that we played at, but it varies for sure where we play at here in Vegas. Wherever
And
they let us play, really.
do you guys have a website?
We do not. Currently, we just have our Instagram at underscore maybe you're right underscore.
Okay. All right. So that we'll put that up on the screen. And that's where they can find shows and so forth, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, good.
They can see updates when our shows are, watch our behind the scenes stuff. Because like even when we're in the studio, we make content just so like the fans can see like oh, because like there's some bands that are like oh EP coming soon, but there's no like update or like anything. They're just saying it. And like with me personally, I think like if I'm saying it, I'm gonna show and tell.
What do you like better, playing live or in the studio creating kind of a finished product?
I like playing live just so that I can move around the stage and like throw my guitar around because I do like a guitar flip like every show. And my drummer's like, I'm so scared every time you do that it's gonna fall out. And I was like, don't worry, there's strap locks. There's like this, I'm like, okay, buddy. But like I also, in the studio, I have to be a little bit more on point with how we're playing because we play with like a click track and all that. So like it's not one take, one try, but we typically try to do that just because it is an investment, it is our time. We are being there hourly, so any time wasted is kind of a loss on our part. So we typically go into the studio with like our parts already set in mind, how we're playing it to like we more or less already know how to play to the BPM of the song that we're recording so that we do not waste time redoing takes over and over and over and over again. That way it's more of a faster process, I think, to just get the product done.
Right. Do you consider yourself more of a guitar player or songwriter or both or
I think, well, in terms of like the band, definitely like songwriter and what is it? Because any band that we see locally and there's a guitar player, I always like I go up to each band after every show, like, hey, you guys did good, like showing like support to the local music scene here, and I'm like, you guys did good, and like sometimes they recognize me as well. I've been to shows where it's like dim. You can hardly see like the crowd and I'm in the crowd and then they'll say like shout out Jared Summers. We see your silhouette. We don't see your face. We see your silhouette though. And
very
like we were just at a show. Oh, we've also played here at a show at this place called Cemetery Pole. And we just there, me and our bassist Charlene literally just walked in, not even like 10 seconds. We're like surrounded by like a band, like other fans, and they're like, Jared, 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 Jared. And at that point it did kind of hit me. I was like, oh, well, this is like a step up. Like we're on to something for sure. Like we're just walking in and people are knowing us. And
Right.
even with no music out, and I'm like, we're killing it. But and then I'll go again with back to your question. Uh, like I'll go to the guitars like you guys did good, and then I personally I don't think I'm a good guitarist. I just write the songs. So I think that's I'm more of a songwriter than a guitar player. That's when our guitarist Hawk, he comes in and he writes his own stuff if he doesn't like what I wrote. So I'm like, okay, just it's all right. My feelings.
Where do you get all your confidence from? Where'd you get that
Oh,
from?
I don't know. I think it's just who I am. I'm just an outgoing, like charismatic person, and I don't think it's definitely from like my parents or anything like that. Because I've been technically like performing in front of people and like just out of my way to do that since like middle school. Because I used to
Really?
do, yeah, I used to do magic. So I would just, as like a magician, I would have to like go up to people like, oh, look what I can do. Look at this cool thing. And just going through that. And again, I was in theater as well, like in high school as well. So just performing, I'm like kind of used to just having people watch me. It builds my ego. Yeah.
Interesting, interesting. So that's very interesting because a lot of musicians, they get going, they start playing, they write, they maybe record, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh God, I gotta play this, and I gotta play out now.
Yeah.
And you
I've
seem like not a problem, like it was like a natural sort of extension.
yeah, and like I've had like a fan come up to me who's like, "Oh, like do you get nervous when you're playing?" I've had like this other person in another band ask me too, is like, "Do you get nervous when you're playing?" Or even after, is like, "Are were you nervous?" And I'm like, "No, I was not nervous at all." And I tell them, but like I am nervous, but it's literally like only maybe the first 30 seconds as soon as we start. Like once we have that drum count in 1, 2, 3, 4, and we start playing, I'm nervous for like the first 30 seconds, especially because our first song that we always start our set list is called Time to Party. And we have like a little intro. And then after that little intro, we do like another like count off. Like our guitars will go 1, 2, 3, 4. And during that countdown, I'm throwing my guitar around. That's when I'm really most nervous too. Is like if it falls, I'm done for the rest of the set. But once I catch it and like we just start playing, like all that nervousness kind of like goes away. And I'm like, okay, I'm in the moment now. Like I'm singing, I'm playing guitars, we're all in sync together. No one's really off beat, out of time, stepping on anyone's shoes at that point.
Very
So
cool. Very cool.
I'm definitely
Uh,
nervous. I'm definitely nervous. But again, it's literally like at the start. Once we
yeah.
start playing, I'm like, this is it. Like this is like I'm enjoying the feeling of everyone enjoying their time watching us play.
Well, listen, this has been great. Like half the battle is just showing up and keep, continuing to go, right? Continuing to get a little bit better. Just you don't have to run forward, you just have to walk forward, right?
Yeah.
Right? Just as long as you're moving forward. And look, it was great talking to you. I think you have so much ahead of you. I can't wait to hear the EP.
Thank you. Thank
Um, we're going to do everything we can to get this out, to get people to your shows, to your Instagram page, right? To that YouTube, to the song you wrote,
you.
that's out there. Jared, thanks so much for coming on Airspeed Sessions and giving our audience some insight into your journey, which obviously is just at the beginning. And it's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
exciting. I
Thank you.
imagine you're totally excited about this.
Every day, even doing this, even doing the interview, I'm like excited. We just had another one and then like another one back to back. I'm like, that's crazy. That's
Good for you. Good
it's
for
just
you. All right.
dreams are getting closer and closer.
Yep. All right, man. Thank you. Godspeed. Good luck.
Yes. Thank you for having me.